Alofa lava tawe.
How are you this morning?
Yeah, a bit busy running around this morning. We've got a big week this week. We've got Labour Party conference over the weekend, so a few things happening.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the conference over the weekend.
Well, it'll be an opportunity for us to bring our members together to plan ahead to the election next year, to mobilise. We've already been oversubscribed, so a lot of people wanted to attend this one, but simply not enough room. But clearly the demand and a lot of people wanting to get behind Labour in the lead up to the next election.
Right. Okay. Carmel, let's start this morning with the official cash rates that was released by the Reserve Bank of New Zealand yesterday. Is it good news that it's coming down to 2.25%?
It will be good news for many.
Yeah.
We need to give credit here to the Reserve Bank for the work that they've been doing.
Yeah.
And so, we'll have an impact. I think the thing that we need to recognise, though, is that so many New Zealanders are still struggling with the high cost of living. Many of our people are the ones that have fallen victim to the high unemployment rate and are struggling to keep work or find work. And so, although it will provide some relief to some people, there are still people out there that are struggling. Okay,
you did just mention impact of the official cash rate. What impact do you think the OCR cut to 2.25 will have on households struggling with cost of living pressures, Carmel?
Well, that's the interesting thing, because I've just been listening to the media reports on this like everyone else, and I heard that the floating interest rates may drop or may have already dropped slightly, but the report that I heard just this morning was that there's no guarantee that other interest rates will drop or will drop significantly. I guess we just need to watch this space.
Do you believe lower interest rates will meaningfully reduce inequality, or do they risk widening the gap between homeowners and renters?
So they certainly provide some reprieve for homeowners in terms of, potentially if you get lower interest rates, then obviously you get potentially lower mortgage payments. The theory is that you would hope that would mean that landlords don't necessarily put up rents to the same extent for renters. However, there's no guarantees that will be the case.
Okay. How should the government balance stimulating growth with ensuring inflation doesn't rebound above the Reserve Bank's 1 to 3% target band? Carmel, what do you think?
Well, I think the thing to keep in mind here is that at the time when it really spiked, which was post-COVID, that was happening internationally. Everyone had massive spikes in inflation, which meant we all saw the cost of living go up quite significantly. What we've seen internationally since then is that inflation has come down, but not so much in New Zealand. It's come down, but it's still been higher than what we've seen with the other comparable countries. And so that means New Zealanders have been really struggling with the cost of living and putting food on the table and paying for all of the expenses that they need to.
Honourable Carmel, do you think the Reserve Bank has gone far enough, or should further cuts be considered in 2026 if growth remains weak?
Oh, look, I think that's not for me as a politician to make assumptions about. The Reserve Bank has independence and has to make responsible decisions on the cash rate, the OCR, on behalf of all of us, and we trust them to do that job.
Okay, let me ask you about the regulatory standards bill. What's your reaction to Winston Peters' shift in position on regulatory standards bill, Carmel?
Well, very interesting, because only a few days before, the New Zealand First members were making speeches about the bill and were speaking about its merits and why it was a good piece of legislation. So it was quite the turnaround from Winston to come out and say that they will repeal it. Obviously, from the get-go, the Labour Party have not supported this bill, and we have been very clear that we will repeal it within the first 100 days. And so now, Winston Winston is saying that New Zealand First would also repeal it.
Right.
So I think, the underlying factor here is that there's clearly disagreement between the three coalition parties.
Yeah.
ACT seems to be calling far too many shots.
Right.
And New Zealand First and National, particularly Chris Luxon, has just allowed them to do that, even though, parties like New Zealand First have now come out and said they disagree with the legislative changes that ACT are trying to push through.
Right. Okay. Honourable Carmel, do you see his support for repeal as genuine or as political manoeuvring ahead of the 2026 election?
Well, I think that he's seen the writing on the wall in terms of the fact that the government is very unpopular.
Yeah.
Chris Luxon is very unpopular. I think a year out from the next election, New Zealand First and Winston Peters are trying to differentiate themselves from ACT and National to try and separate themselves out because they don't want to be tarnished with the same brush as what ACT and National will be tarnished with.
Right.
But it also shows that there will be tensions that continue to build over the next year between the three political parties in government. Not sure if that's good for the governance of this country, but we can all see it.
Okay, how important is it for Labour to secure New Zealand's first backing to repeal the Act sooner rather than later?
Well, I think that would certainly show that they're genuine about their opposition to the bill and willingness to repeal it. I think some people would have seen that one of our members has put a bill in the ballot to actually repeal it. If that got drawn out, then it would be a real test of New Zealand First's position on this. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Okay, final questions on the Hon Carmel. If Peters does support if Peters does support repeal, how would that reshape the political alliance around the regulation and corporate influence to New Zealand?
Well, it's one piece of legislation. So, there will be, undoubtedly, if he did, earlier than the next government, because he said that they'd repeal in the next term, then that would just go to show that this government are not holding together, basically.
Okay, Honourable Carmel, whawhetai te lava Malu. Time before I let you go, Christmas is around the corner. Hopefully we'll have another program with you before Christmas. Are you planning much for Christmas from now? Or?
Oh, we're planning on sticking around home. Spending some time together as a family. Probably doing what everyone else is doing and eating too much. But, the usual things at Christmas and, celebrating what the season is about.
Okay. Whawhetai te lava Malu, and thank you for your time, Carmel. Mo lava nei aso? Whawhetai lava. Honourable Carmel, Deputy Leader of Labour Party, Taeao, Taeao, Samoa,